Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer and today we'll be taking a look at the SD Sengoku Sengetsuren Zhou Yu Akatsuki Gundam from the SD World Sengoku Sengetsuren series, which can be found over on YouTube. If you like this kit or this line, you can find them over on Canadian Gundam, the sponsor of this video. When you're looking at your catalog and placing your order, be sure to use the promo code Gunpla Network for 10% off. The box is the standard fare for this series with the logo for the show as well as the faction logo on the front of the box, along with some artwork, the name in both English and Japanese, and it is a pretty good piece of art, I do have to say. The gold looks really good. We'll see if that transitions into plastic because gold plating is never that easy, and I don't know that this is going to be quite as shiny as the HG or the no-grade Akatsuki that was actually gold-plated. But it does look good. As far as the sides of the box, on the top and the bottom we'll get the same continued artwork, and on either side you'll have the gimmick, which is mostly made up of red plastic, or red clear plastic, as this is going to feature a flamethrower type weapon that can also be part of the backpack and some swords, or a shield. And on the other side you'll have all the information, the barcode, the warnings and such, and of course the QR code for the show, which, as I said, can be found over on YouTube if you're curious. And of course you're wondering, where does this character come from, and it does say it in the name, but in case you're unsure, this line does take parts of Gundam and parts of Romance of the Three Kingdoms and mix them together. So part 1 would be the Akatsuki Gundam from Gundam Seed Destiny, the ORB-01 or ORB-01 mobile suit. This is given to Kigali Ula Antha as Zaft is attacking Orb, or I guess the collective forces of the coalition against Lord Jabril are attacking Orb. And this is a very interesting mobile suit, much in the same way the Hyakushiki before it was, is the gold is largely due to an anti-beam coating, making this thing nearly indestructible as it just kind of reflects beam blasts left and right. Now, of course, there are variants of this, and we're really kind of just based on the main version, but regardless, it's still gold and it still looks cool. Now, in terms of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms side, this is Zhou Yu, who is a famed strategist and commander from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms storylines, most notably being credited with the victories at the Red Cliffs in late 208 and the Battle of Jiangling in 209. Interesting, kind of not sure where this is going to go in terms of the story, as I've not caught up myself yet, but it is a very interesting combination visually with some of the black against the gold as well as the additions of the red. In terms of the plastic that we actually see in the box, the A-plate is very identical to almost everything else, with the exception of potentially the color it's molded in, as the inner frame seems to be shared against all of these suits so far. Just this one's in a black instead of a gray. Regardless, pretty much all the same articulation and posability you would get. In terms of the C-plate, which is the next, we're skipping B entirely, it is in a nice gold. It's not gold-plated, but it is a pretty decent color. It doesn't look terrible, especially for this suit being made entirely of gold. It isn't very cheesy or yellowy. Now, of course, we also have the D-plates, which are going to be in a slightly darker, more goldy shade of gold to help give some contrast. It will probably blend fairly well, but it is interesting to see they went with two different colors here instead of just one color of gold. We of course have the E-plate as well, that's going to be kind of a dark clear black plastic for the shoulder armor hair thingies and the little hairpin that you get for the head. You'll also get the F-plate, which is going to be molded in a clear red. Now this is more for the body itself, with the feet, the side skirts, the front skirts, and the shoulder option, or parts rather. And they look good. They're very striking. I hope we get to see them quite a bit on the kit. After that, you're going to get the G plate, which is going to be the backpack and the weapon molded in just a solid black plastic. After that, you're going to get another clear red plate here with the eye plate, and that's going to be pretty much everything else. You're going to get the 4 sword flame effect parts, then everything else for pretty much just the head. After that, you're also going to get a very small sticker sheet, which is only going to cover the eyes, which are just your traditional SD eyes. After that, you'll also get the manual, which has the same printed artwork from the box, then just a piece of line art for the character, and it looks very imposing, especially with all that red plastic sticking up everywhere. Now, what is this actually going to look like? Well, we're going to see in a second. I'm interested to see how the golds play off each other, with one being more of a yellow and one being more of a gold. I'm hoping that the contrast is going to be nice. And now that it's all built, I do have to say I quite like it. The backpack with the red sticking out looks really cool and kind of menacing in a way. It makes this kit feel much wider than it is, and I mean the shoulders are already wide, but that just feels like it is so much bigger than it is. The clear red works so much better for weapons as well. It's so much more striking, looks cool, and you can see a lot of the detail work in the flames of them versus like the yellow for the mace on the Barbados. This just looks so much cooler, and I really wish they'd have done that in red. Unfortunately, they didn't. Now, in terms of that red plastic, as cool as it is, it does kind of get in the way when it's in the backpack form like this, with the kind of antennas coming off the back of the head bumping in and getting stuck. So if it's in this mode, it's really going to be looking forward, or you're going to have to work around that. It's kind of a drawback of the design. It does look cool, but honestly, I could have done without the little bulb on the head and those antennas. I don't really think they add a whole lot, and they just kind of tend to get in the way. I will have to say though that red plastic is the biggest win for this kit. In terms of how it looks, it's great. In the sword form it looks good, the shield form it looks good, the backpack form it looks good, but by far the best thing about it is the flamethrower mode. And when you connect these together and put it in that mode, it looks so much cooler than any other weapon this line has done. So much better than the Barbados' mace, so much better than the chakrams of the Strike Rouge, and the shoulder cannon of the Tallgeese. It just is so eye-catching and cool looking, and this is how it's going to be posed on my shelf with the flamethrower. I'll show you a little bit later what it looks like, but really cool looking. In terms of the details of this kit though, visually speaking, it does look really, really nice. The clear black plastic was kind of a strange choice in my opinion. I think it looks good, but it does somewhat get in the way here and there, and that's a lot I have to say with this design. There's a lot of things that get in the way of other things just for aesthetic reasons, I suppose. It doesn't look bad. I mean, it does flow, it does match, it doesn't stand out too bad, but it just gets in the way of the arm and kind of moving, and you have to move. Be very careful when you're moving this thing is all I have to say there. As far as the actual surface detailing, there's not a lot to panel line, but the color of plastic they chose for where all of the details are going to be shows enough of it that if you don't want to panel line it, you don't have to, and you're not really missing out on anything there. In terms of articulation, you're going to get the same hinge joint in the neck, so it will move around pretty well. The shoulder will rotate around at the shoulder as well as at the bicep. You're also going to get some good movement out of the torso. And then you're also going to get these side skirts, which are on ball joints, moving forward and back, and just a little up and down. The leg will kick out, does have a bend in the knee and the ankles on a ball joint, so you will get a decent amount of articulation out of it as well. And for the best part of this kit, it is absolutely that flamethrower. While the other effects are cool with the backpack, and you can see here the sword, the shield's okay, but it pretty much just looks like you took the backpack off and moved it to the shield, and it's one of those things, shields are hard to pose with because they block the character, and then this being such a big shield, it's kind of hard to see, but the flamethrower is super dynamic looking and is so cool. It just looks so good. Like, it's so fitting for the type of weapon, the coloration, and just generally this design meets it very, very well. Now, in terms of what you can do with these, they are pretty much just pegs going into holes that you can rotate pretty much at any angle. Now, the handles are still there, so you do have to keep that in mind, but you can make the flame effect look a lot different depending on how you position those. And if you put the extra one on, of course, it's going to extend further. But as you can see, with 3 of the 4 on, it doesn't have any issue holding it outright. It's not too heavy. The plastic itself is pretty stable in the shoulder, and the wrist joints are pretty solid as well, so that does help with some posability. Now, overall, I do have to say, this is probably, it's not my favorite, I would say. It is up there. The flamethrower is definitely the biggest part of it. However, I really just do not like the red jewel on the head, the orb thing on the top there. And of course, the antennas look okay, but I really wish those had been detachable for weapons too, because that would have been kind of neat. Overall, I have to say, it's not bad. There's a lot of cool things, and that flame effect is just so cool. But generally speaking, neither gold's really that impressive. They are good for regular gold plastic, but I really wish they'd either done it all in the nicer gold style gold, or made them slightly more different, because they just look so visually similar. Unless you're really focused on it, you're not going to see any kind of contrast. If you're just glancing at it, it's on your shelf, it's just going to look like one piece of gold, and it's not like a great shiny gold either. However, outside of that, it does look good alongside its counterparts. As you can see here, it does kind of stand out as far as the traditional Gundam colors, and had I not painted the Strike Rouge, it would stand out even more. But it is going to be something that, while those golds are going to blend together, it is still going to really be different on your shelf, and it's going to stand out. If you've got the high-grade Akatsuki, the no-grade Akatsuki with the gold plating, or even like a Hyakushiki in any form, this is going to meet them all very well, because it's just so gold. I mean, it matches with them, so that is always an option. And generally speaking, it matches up size-wise. It's a little bit taller than the Barbados. It's not that much bigger, but it is wider than pretty much anything else we've seen. Even the Tallgeese, which isn't pictured here, is not as wide as this. It's just such a wide kit, which is kind of strange, but it doesn't look bad. Now, in terms of regular SD comparison here, it does not really match, of course, as you would expect. However, in size, it's actually closer than what we would see with the Strike Rouge or the Barbados. It does feel more filled out in comparison to the Delta Plus and the High Nu here than either the other two would. So if you actually collected a lot of the other SD lines, this might fit in just a little bit better size-wise. Now, of course, it is going to be slightly harder to pose, so just remember that. But generally speaking, it is a pretty fun kit. If you're a fan of the series, or either character, or just like gold, this is a definite pick up. It's great. Just really know how limited the articulation is going to be if you leave it in backpack mode. It does look really cool just standing there, but it is going to just be standing there. If you use the flamethrower, that's not an issue. The arm will hold it up. It looks really solid. Anyway, those have been my thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think if you picked it up, or just what you think about watching this review. And of course, I've been the Spicer. This has been the Gunpla Network. And as always, keep on building.